This is DD India. You're watching Defense Dynamics, and I'm Danveer Singh from New Delhi. In this program, we'll talk about latest India-Bangladesh naval exercise Bongosagar. What does this indicate? In the Middle East geopolitical jumble, the region has erupted again as United States forces struck Houthis in Yemen, while Iranian backers were warned of consequences if they didn't stop their support to the Houthis. In the quest of greater self-reliance, the Indian Army deploys an indigenous vehicle-mounted infantry mortar system in Sikkim. We'll try understand this in greater detail. And also in this program, we'll try and analyze the world's most powerful intelligence alliance, the Five Eyes, suddenly on the brink of collapse. But before we dive deep, take a look at the major global defense headlines. The head of Islamic State in Iraq and Syria has been killed in Iraq in an operation by members of Iraqi National Intelligence Service along with the US-led coalition forces, the Iraqi Prime Minister announced on 14th of March of 2025. He said, the Iraqis continue their impressive victories over forces of darkness and terrorism. The Prime Minister, Mr. Mohammad Shia al-Sudani, said in his statement posted on X, NATO will ask alliance members to raise their military capability targets by 30% as the organization seeks to boost its force posture, according to the commander in charge of defense planning. Poland's President Andrzej Duda again called for the United States to deploy nuclear weapons to Poland as a deterrent to Russia. The latest indication that frontline NATO nation is increasingly considering nuclear protection as fears of Russia grows. Addressing the Indian military's Commanders Conference of the Southern Air Command in South Indian city of Thiruvananthapuram on March 12th of 2025, Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh drew the attention of the commanders towards the hybrid nature of future warfare, where the spectrum of conflict is likely to be spread across multiple domains. He urged them to keep pace with global developments in the domain of space, cyber, and electronic warfare. He also stressed the need for the capability enhancement and harnessing the full potential of human resources. The Russian military said on March 11th of 2025 that their air defenses overnight shot 337 Ukrainian drones over 10 Russian regions in what appears to be the biggest Ukrainian drone attack on Russia in 3 years. Indian Ministry of Defence has signed a rupees 2,906 crore contract with Bharat Electronics Limited (BEL) Ghaziabad for procurement of low-level transportable radar LLTR Ashwini. Ashwini is an active electronically scanned phased array radar based on state-of-art solid-state technology. The radar is capable of tracking aerial targets from high-speed fighter aircraft to slow-moving targets such as unmanned aerial vehicles and helicopters. Its acquisition will significantly enhance the operational preparedness of the Indian Air Force. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday that he agrees in principle with the US proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine, but the terms needed to be worked out, and he emphasized that it should pave way for a lasting peace. India-Bangladesh naval forces concluded a coordinated patrol in Bay of Bengal this week amid strained diplomatic ties. The patrol was a part of 2025 edition of Bongosagar exercise. The Indian Navy in a statement said that annual exercise Bongosagar was aimed at enhancing the interoperability of two forces, ensuring they can better address shared maritime security challenges. The Indian Navy statement on this exercise said, the enhanced synergy of naval operations between two navies is the testament to the shared commitment of countering global security challenges towards security and stability in the region, promoting security and growth for all in the region, that is Sagar Initiative of India. The Bongosagar exercise saw the participation of Indian Navy's INS Ranveer and Bangladesh Navy's BNS Abu Udaya this year. With a range of operations including surface firing, tactical maneuvers, underway replenishment and VBSS, the Visit Board Search, Seizure and Crossboarding. The exercise covered a broad spectrum of naval operations. Held since 2019, the Bongosagar exercise this time came months after the Indian Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi in January this year highlighted the strategic significance of India-Bangladesh ties. The collaboration marks a significant advancement in maritime cooperation between the two nations since the ouster of Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina last year. The exercise also featured communication drills, which tested the forces' readiness, and a unique quiz on professional topics provided an engaging way for operational teams and junior officers to enhance their maritime knowledge. It culminated in a symbolic steam pass, reflecting the deepening ties between the two naval forces. Indian Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi, in his first press briefing after assuming office, said in January, India is strategically important to Bangladesh and vice versa. As neighbors, we must understand each other and avoid animosity, as it is not in either nation's interest. On postponement of this exercise due to the ongoing strains between the two nations, the Army Chief stressed at that time, once the situation improves, the exercise will proceed as planned. Then he added, as of now, the relationship with the military is well and perfect. The now completed Bongosagar exercise has improved coordination between the two naval forces and their ability to conduct seamless maritime operations, particularly when addressing shared security concerns or emerging threats at sea, the Indian Navy stated. The exercise came after raising concerns over first joint training between the Chinese and the Bangladeshi armies in May of 2024. At the time, the People's Liberation Army conducted drills at Bangabandhu Bangladesh-China Friendship Exhibition Center near Dhaka. Pakistan has also come into picture, with Bangladesh previously strained relationship with Pakistan beginning to improve. In November and December last year, two cargo ships carrying goods docked at Chittagong port, marking the first such arrival since 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. Bangladesh's political and diplomatic landscape has shifted following the ouster of the Hasina-led Awami League government after 15 years in power. Hasina, a close ally of India, is now in exile. This has resulted in weakened Bangladesh-India ties. However, Bongosagar has strengthened coordination and confidence between the two navies, thereby improving the ability to undertake coordinated operations and respond swiftly and effectively against emerging threats at sea. Needless to say, this underscores strong ties between two countries despite the political upheaval. Middle East is back in the news, and this time it's Yemen. US President Donald Trump launched a large-scale military strike against Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis on Saturday over the group's attack against Red Sea shipping, killing at least 31 people at the start of the campaign. It is expected to last many days. Trump also warned Iran, the Houthis' main backer, that it needs to immediately halt support to the group. He said, if Iran threatened United States, America will hold you fully accountable and we won't be nice about it. The recently carried out strikes by the United States are likely to continue for weeks. They represent the biggest US military operations in the Middle East since Trump took over office in January. This has come as United States ramped up its sanction pressure on Tehran while trying to bring it to the negotiating table over its nuclear program. To all Houthi terrorists, your time is up and your attacks must stop starting today. If they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you have ever seen before. Trump posted this on Truth Social platform. At least 53 people were killed and 98 others injured in the US strike, mostly women and children. Anis Al-Absahi, spokesperson for the Houthi-run State Health Ministry, said in an update told on Sunday. The Houthis' political bureau described the attack as a war crime. He said, our Yemeni armed forces are fully prepared to respond to escalation with escalation, he said in a statement. Residents in Sana'a said strikes hit a building in Houthi stronghold. The explosions were violent and shook the neighborhood like an earthquake. They terrified our women and children, one of the residents, who gave his name as Abdullah Yahya, told Reuters. Strikes also targeted Houthi military sites in Yemen's southwestern city of Taiz, two witnesses in the area said on Sunday. Another strike on power station in the town of Dayan in Sada led to a power cut, Al Masira TV reported on Sunday. Dayan is where Abdul Malik al-Houthi, the enigmatic leader of Houthis, often meets his visitors. Trump said US would use overwhelming lethal force against Houthis while accusing them for choking transportation through Suez Canal, the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, which has affected trade and commerce and attacked the principle of freedom of navigation. The Houthi attack on American vessels will not be tolerated. We will use overwhelming lethal force until we have achieved our objectives. The Houthis have choked off shipping in one of the most important waterways of the world, grinding vast swaths of global commerce to a halt and attacking the core principle of freedom of navigation upon which international trade and commerce depends, Trump said. In a major development, Indian Army has deployed vehicle-mounted infantry mortars in high-altitude terrain of Sikkim with infantry troops guarding the India-China border. This system will accord the local commanders with shoot and scoot capability, which comes as a boost when dodging the drone threat, alongside flexibility to support infantry operations. Indian Army has recently deployed the Vehicle-Mounted Infantry Mortar System (VMIMS) in Sikkim, enhancing its firepower and mobility in high-altitude terrains. This deployment is part of the Indian Army's efforts to bolster its capabilities along strategic borders. The VMIMS, also known as the Mahindra Alakran system, is a cutting-edge combat-proven technology that integrates an 81mm mortar on a 4x4 armored light specialist vehicle locally developed under Made in India initiative by Mahindra Defence Systems Limited in collaboration with Millennium and TGS. The system offers superior mobility and indirect firing capabilities, making it ideal for shoot and scoot operations. It can deploy in seconds, fire multiple rounds quickly, and retract just as fast, thus significantly enhancing survivability on the battlefield. The VMIMS is heliborne capable, allowing it to be airlifted to remote areas, which is particularly advantageous in regions like Sikkim where terrain is challenging. Deliveries of the VMIMS are scheduled to be completed by the end of year 2025, further solidifying the Indian Army's presence and readiness in critical border regions. The deployment of VMIMS in Sikkim underscores Indian Army's commitment to modernizing its arsenal and maintaining strategic readiness along its borders.
Indian Army gets yet another country-made, home-made weapon systems, that is vehicle-mounted infantry mortar system. Infantry mortars is a very, very versatile weapon. It is very, very powerful, and for an infantry battalion, it is a artillery for infantry battalion, something like that. It is a battalion support weapon, and it used to be carried on the shoulder, man pack, or in the vehicle in a truck. It will be just kept there. Now with this vehicle coming a few advantages. This is a custom-made vehicle for carrying mortars, and it can be fired. Secondly, it is a very automated, fully fire control systems are computerized. And thirdly, it also gives protection against small arms and sharpnels. So it will provide a very good mobility to the infantry mortars, especially in mountains and rough terrain, and will help in quick deployment and fire, which can be a game changer, which is the difference between winning and losing.
Now let's picture this. The world's most powerful intelligence alliance, the Five Eyes, are suddenly on the brink of collapse. The US, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, seemingly unbreakable partners for decades, are facing an uncertain future. And in the middle of it all, a surprise twist. Canada, once an inseparable part of this elite club, now faces the possibility of being booted out. And the stakes? Well, let's just say this could rewrite the rules of global intelligence. It is the kind of story that sounds like it's straight out of a spy novel. What does Canada's potential exit from the Five Eyes mean for the future of global intelligence? For Canada itself, and more importantly, what does this mean for countries like India? The shakeup could have huge implications for the future of diplomacy, security, and the balance of power. The Five Eyes, a highly secretive intelligence sharing network born out of World War II cooperation between the United States and the United Kingdom, has long been the gold standard. But the proposal to expel Canada from its alliance, according to reports from the Financial Times, is stringing up tensions. And while the idea has been dismissed as crazy stuff by President Trump's advisor Peter Navarro, the very suggestion carries monumental implications. Peter Navarro, a loyalist of Trump who even went to jail for him, has denied the claims, but rumors persist that he has advocated for kicking Canada out.
You never have to comment on any story where it's based on unnamed sources. Have you ever noticed that? Okay, that was just crazy stuff. We would never, ever jeopardize our national security, ever, with allies like Canada, ever.
For those of us trying to understand what this means, Canada is a founding member but would be cut from a system that's been critical for coordinating signals intelligence, counter-terrorism efforts, and monitoring global threats. The loss of Canada could empower countries like Russia and China, who would undoubtedly cheer at any cracks in the Five Eyes armor. It is no secret that President Trump has not been shy in his criticism of former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, even calling him Governor Trudeau, a sly jab at Canada's position in the US sphere of influence. And the stakes? Well, with the looming tariffs set to hit Canada's economy, the future of relationship seems uncertain.
We don't need anything. So why are we losing $200 billion a year and more to protect Canada? And I said that to, as I called him, Governor Trudeau. I said, listen, what would happen if we didn't subsidize you?
Former CIA official Dennis Wilder said if the US moves to expel Canada, this would be a catastrophic decision. The Five Eye Alliance has been the most successful intelligence sharing framework in the world history. It is not just about diplomacy, it is about ensuring that critical intelligence on cyber threats, terrorism, and global security reaches the right hands. So what would happen if Canada were actually removed from the alliance? Well, for India, a country with growing intelligence ties to Five Eyes, the ramifications would be both positive and negative. On one hand, a weakened Five Eyes could lead to less robust coordination on global intelligence, ultimately impacting India's security interest. But on the flip side, if Canada were sidelined, Ottawa could find it harder to access the type of intelligence it used against India, especially in cases like Hardeep Singh Nijjar incident, where Canadian intelligence accused India of involvement in killing of a Khalistani terrorist. A rupture could mean fewer diplomatic clashes and, dare I say, less fuel for the fire. But there is also a big but. If Five Eyes fractures, it could derail growing discussion about expanding the alliance, potentially bringing in countries like India, Japan, and South Korea. After all, the world is changing fast and India's role in global intelligence has become more critical than ever. So, if the Five Eyes splinter, it could leave New Delhi scrambling for alternatives. The Five Eyes system, which operates on intelligence exchange, has kept the world's spooks at peace for generations. But in Trump's second term, we are seeing something unprecedented, a shift from long-standing alliances to transactional diplomacy. All it takes is one directive from the president and the entire framework could collapse like a house of cards. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. While the idea of breaking up Five Eyes is terrifying to intelligence officers, Trump's America First approach is shaking up everything, especially those alliances we thought were rock solid. Former British intelligence officer has recently said, "What's worrying is the uncertainty. If Trump were to pull the plug of Five Eyes or say end intelligence sharing with United Kingdoms, it could set off a chain reaction. A breakdown in trust, the implication could go beyond intelligence world and reach all the way to military alliances like NATO. That's right, with Russia moving in on Ukraine, questions about future of NATO and US relationship with its European allies are bubbling to the surface. Could the United Kingdoms, along with Australia and Canada, be left out in the cold? With US intelligence now under fire, some are even questioning whether America's influence on global intelligence stage will remain as dominant as it was once. In the end, the future of the Five Eyes is uncertain. The stakes are high, and as Canada teeters to the edge of this unprecedented break, the world watches closely. Will the Five Eyes survive, or will it fall apart like some geopolitical domino? Well, have to wait and see. What we do know is that the world is shifting alliances. Even the craziest proposal can't be ruled out. Regional instability in the Middle East is back again at the fore, with US striking the Iranian-backed Houthis. Will Iran step back? Will the Houthis be neutralized? Has to be seen in days ahead. Contrary to the perception created amidst diplomatic issues with Bangladesh, the military-to-military relations are strong with India. In fact, Pakistan should not focus too much on shaping things in Bangladesh and lose sight of what is happening in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. With this, we come to the end of this episode. See you next week with new stories and their analysis. Thanks for watching, and do post your comments on social media with #DD with Danby. Goodbye and take care.